Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we go over how I mixed kick drums and 808s inside IDL from Vision. You'll find online that there's 1.5 million different ways to mix your kick drums and 808s together when you're working with hip hop. Sometimes it really is just some simple little moves that sets your kicks inside your 808s. There's lots of other things you can do as well, but let's take a dive inside the DAW and take a look at how I did it for this song. So here we are inside this session, and before I do anything, I'm just going to hit play so you guys can hear what we're working with. This is already mixed and has been released, and a link to the song on all major platforms will be in the description.
I cannot pity them, broke, I ain't feeling them, let more bitch again. Put was that band again, so for me double them, what I done did to them, damn I feel blessed again. Me and that money got right again, build up a team and that fire ignite again. Venue got merchants, well guess who incited them? Yeah, look, looking like Mr. T minus then, all this gold on me, I bet they gon' try me then. No hostess, so try me then. Pick up them pieces, swipe them and leave them. Get myself right for 2 seasons, told her to pick up a square, act like you need them. Give me that, best to be gay for the land of no trees and burn me capital G. My granny be scheming, both of us dodging the law, bobbing and weaving. Undercover, they'll move me, yellow school buses and Susies. Can mix with patchouli, flexing and Stussy, giving the groupies. I don't lose, I don't lose. I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. Listen, I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. Listen, I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. I don't lose, I don't lose, I don't lose. Love.
So there you go. There's just a little bit of the song, and we're going to concentrate right around bar 15 here. This is where the 808 just starts to come in, but we'll come back to bar 11 because that's just the kicks on their own, and then we'll see what's going on each of these tracks. So here's the kicks themselves. And that's after everything I've done. If I take off this chain, so let's take a look at what I was doing. First, I used Slade's virtual mix rack because there's so many different options you can do within this plugin itself. But let's take a look at what I have going on. I started off with the virtual channel, and I did the Brit 4K-E. The drive usually defaults to 6, and I felt like I didn't really need any more than this, but I did drive the input to it because this is a kick bus, and with the mix, I needed just a little bit more. So I'm going to turn everything else off, and we'll add everything in as we go through everything. So just the virtual channel. So it's already adding a little bit of saturation. It's very subtle. Up next, I use the FGS, and I just use this to add a little bit of mid-range. I needed a little bit of just under 2K here. Once this pops up, I believe, 1.9K. And I really only added a dB and a quarter, it looks like. And then I have another mid boost down here where I have almost 5 dB at just under 900. Let's take a listen to what this does. I'll start with it off and then add it in. So it gave the mid-range just a little bit more push to come out of some smaller speakers. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this. Up next, I have the FGN, and this is really also not doing a lot. It's just adding a low shelf at 100 hertz down here, and we're adding 5 dB, which does sound like a lot, and it can be. Well, let's take a listen to what it's actually doing. I'm not doing anything else with this module at all. It is giving a little bit of saturation, just like the virtual channel did, but it's really just adding that low-end bump. Made it real beefy down there. Up next, I used some Revival. And again, I just used some of this thickness to round out the bottom. Here it is before. Again, it's all low end, and it's really just helping round out this sound. And then at the end here, I had trimmer in case I needed to like flip the phase or, make any adjustments, but I didn't even use that. So this is everything I did for my kicks, whether it be through the verses itself or over here in the hook where it actually is a different kick sound. Let's take a listen to what's going on over here. So the same general sound that I had for the verse and the hook worked. Following the mix rack, I actually did a little tape emulation. I wanted a little bit more saturation. I pushed the tape a little hard, but most of these other settings are kind of stock. The only thing I changed is I made it to 15 IPS instead of 30. So let's take a listen to what this is doing. And we'll go back to that first verse. So again, it's adding a little bit of saturation and doing a little bit for the bottom end. I drove the input a little, but I kept them linked so that it didn't change my gain structure at all. I wanted it to compensate. If I was driving the tape a little harder for a little more saturation, then it would just pull the output down. Now let's jump over to the 808s. And again, I have another instance of Virtual Mix Rack from Slate, and we're going to have to move forward to bar 15 here, because that's where the 808s actually come in. And then we'll jump to the hook as well. So let's see what we have going on here. We'll turn everything off. And we'll start at the beginning where I started out with FGS. With the high shelf and the high mid frequency and the low mid frequency, I'm not touching them. The only thing I'm doing is adding some subs at 43 hertz. And I'm adding, 2.5 dB with a bell. This isn't even just a shelf. This is just a bell to really get the super lows of the 808. Let's take this off and listen. Up next, I used the FGN, and I did a very similar kind of thing. I just wanted the sound of this. There is some saturation that this module puts onto the sound, but you can see I'm not even doing anything with any of the EQs. I just kind of wanted this in line, and it really did add something very, very subtle. Here's before. It's probably even unnoticeable, but it is something that I wanted to have, and I felt like it actually added something. So that's why it's still on there. Up next is the FG Stress, and again, this is on a 1-to-1 ratio. I just wanted the sound of this because it's a nice little saturation unit. And after, watch this light right here where it shows that we are getting some saturation. This 1% THD. So it really is doing something. As subtle as it may be, it is doing something. Up next is Revival, and again, we're just going to add some low-end body with the thickness knob. And at the end, I just have an instance of trimmer just because I needed to balance everything back out and have it sit in the mix where I wanted it. And then when we listen to the full mix,
pick up them pieces, swipe them and leave them. Get myself right for 2 seasons. Told her to pick up a square, act like you need them. Give me that, plus I be then gave for the land of no treason. Burn me capital G, see my granny be scheming. Both of us done.
So there it is. Sometimes it really is all just about EQ and compression. You don't need a lot of bells and whistles to have these things separate out from themselves. Now, could I have done more? Probably. But this is what sounded good when I mixed it, and the artist liked it as well. It's out now. Check it out. Like I said before, there's going to be a link in the description. So it's not always about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing for the mix and the song itself. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. For more, visit timflansbaum.com. And if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.